Okay, so we have a special treat. I'm looking at a bunch of loan officers. I'm looking at a lot of real estate agents. So we have a huge treat today. If you're watching this and you're a real estate agent, thank your loan officer. This is exactly what I'm doing. I'm a mortgage professional up here in Seattle, and I happen to have a great relationship with Chad Cooley and Michelle Wilson. And I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm taking this info and I'm getting it in front of my real estate agents that I get to do business with right away. Today is all about, I think the NAR settlement stuff is completely overbaked now. Everyone's been talking about it. Everyone's got their opinion. What's underbaked is what to say when the rubber meets the road. For example, when you do get backed into that corner and your commission is on the line, do you know what to say? And that's so important. And that's why we've got Michelle and we've got Chad here. Real quick intro to these guys. They train, they manage, they oversee over 700 agents in their group. I was introduced to Chad Cooley about a year and a half ago. I was brought into their breakfast club, 7:30 in the morning, Monday through Friday, Pacific Standard Time. He does a coaching for his agents. And it's 30 minutes and it's role play. It's unlike anything I've ever seen in the mortgage space. I've been in mortgage for 16 years. I've been in some of the top communities. I've been a mortgage coach. And I was so inspired by it. And I learned so much as a mortgage lender, listening to Chad Cooley coach and teach real estate agents on how to make sales calls to expired listings and for sell by owners, how to deal with commission objections back then, how to deal with, I'm going to wait until spring to buy or wait until spring to list. And ended up developing a relationship, hiring him, partnering with them. So today I'm so honored and excited to bring Chad Cooley and Michelle Wilson in, talk with all of you loan officers and your agents and my agents. This is going to be a huge gift. So I'll hand it over to you guys.
Awesome. I'd like to apologize for the pink shirt. I just woke up feeling confident today, so I put it on. Go ahead, Michelle.
Awesome. Well, I want to kick us off. Thank you for that, Dan. And before we dive in, because we're going to keep this really short for you guys to pack as much value as possible. And you know what we're always working on. This is what the type of training we run: sales training systems and sales skills. And it's what we've done for the past 20 years in the business collectively, both and then working together with Chad Cooley and I. And so when we look at what we do and just kind of set the precedence here, because I'm going to touch on 3 different things for you guys to be able to take away with, is not only is it how do we have value, how do we have the skill set to go out there and create business, convert the business, handle objections, how do we win on the buyer side, how do we win on the listing side. I run the largest listing brokerage in my market for a majority of the years that I had my company, that for 14 years. And what I mean by that is what's precedent in today is that takes a skill set, that takes value, it's a system, it's a sales process. This is what we've been teaching to agents for years. Now, when you articulate to what is that doing to us in the world we're in at the moment, it's working with our buyers. Nothing changed, guys. It's the same as it should have always been, right? Your process with your buyers is just becoming more like a listing process. Okay. And I think you guys will agree with me there. It's a listing process. And so what I think the missing link is, in my opinion, the void in our industry, it's not only how to have the confidence and the value, right? And like, what do I do when I go out there? But it's how to articulate it. And this is where the sales training comes in and why it's so valuable, because it's very hard to even find, like Dan was saying, to exist at this scope of what we do. So what we want to do is kind of translate this, give you guys things that you can take away right now. As an example, we were running a training open to the industry. It was earlier this week, and we have incredible agents, right? And I'm talking about on the buyer side, okay? Agents working all buyers, selling 70 homes a year, 100 homes a year, all buyer side. They're obviously really good at what they do. Guess what they do? They have a process and a presentation down pat 100% of the time with every single client they work with, right? That's why they do the business that they do. This is also new to them, where they are now going to have to articulate their value a little bit differently, and they have to preempt, even though they might not be getting those objections today, you better believe those objections are coming, right? So we're training the agents to be prepared and equipped with exactly how to articulate that value, how to incorporate it into their presentations that they're already doing, and then how to, again, handle those objections and, again, leverage value to get that buyer's agency signed every single time. So what I want to do for you guys is we'll kind of lead you through the process of taking, I guess the first thing that I'll showcase, and Cooley, tell me if you want to jump in here, or if not, before we get into like the objection handling piece. I want to talk about and address, just what's important to a buyer, right? Because we talk about this all the time, right? The having, you know, being the professional, right?
So I think real quick, if I can jump in here, I think what you think is important to the buyer and what's actually important to the buyer are two different things. And loan officers have the same problem that real estate agents have, which is, let me tell you about the things that I care about, the things that I think you'll like versus the things that you actually care about. Loan officers, you can all relate. Mitchell, you were on our 90-day burn. So you know that most loan officers will start talking about how great their service is, right? How they're always, you can always get a hold of them and stuff like that. And all that stuff we have to understand as realtors, as loan officers. All of that stuff is standard. That's like minimum standard. So if you're out there actually selling that as if that's some sort of value to them, you're selling minimum standard. Like, what person out there says, you know what, I'm really looking for an agent with okay service. I really want a loan officer with below average service. Nobody says that, right? Absolutely nobody. So what do your buyers actually care about? Okay. Now the buyers care about things that you can bring to the table that nobody else has. As a listing agent, you have to be really competitive with your value proposition, what you bring to the table, so that it makes it really easy for them to say yes. And now as a buyer's agent, where you're having to justify your commission, like, what else do you have besides stuff that is minimum standard, right? And so what we want to talk to you about today are some things that you can actually leverage and put into your buyer's presentation to make your buyers go, oh, wait a minute, you can do that? Oh, wait a minute, you're not just going to send me listings. Oh, wait a minute, you're actually going to do a job for me that's actually worth me paying the commission that I'm going to be paying you, right? How do we get somebody excited to actually work with us? And so, Michelle, if we want to jump into really quickly, just some strategies, because we want to cram as much value for you guys into this call as humanly possible. And we got about 30 minutes to do it. So, Michelle, go ahead.
I'm going to hit on first, guys. I'm going to give you some value adds that anyone on here, everybody, every agent out there has access to this. It's just, how am I taking it and packaging it and articulating it? So I'm going to give you guys some takeaways. This is not unique to us or anyone else, that you guys can adopt as a unique value add, right, to your buyers. Then I want to get into handling the objection and scripting. We'll do that next. And then I want to talk about something else as well. So, you know, what's
the really cool thing, real quick, Michelle, the really cool thing is you guys already have the value. You just don't know it, right? Yeah. You don't know how to use it. More importantly, you don't know how to sell it. You know what I mean? Sales, bad rap, I know, boo, for all you people who don't like salespeople, but it's important because you've got to be the best representation of yourself. That's what sales is, Michelle.
So I want you guys to write this down, right? As I'm going to give you about 4 or 5 that, again, everybody already has this. They just don't know how to use it, right? So having a database, right? I have a database of hundreds of off-market sellers, right? People who are looking to sell that are not on the market. These are homes that are not on the MLS, that are not on Zillow, that they can't find on Redfin, right? Do you think that might be valuable to a buyer if you could actually demonstrate that? And then what are these? What is this list of sellers, right? Here's how simple this is, guys. We all already have access to this. We already do it. What are we doing with expireds? What are we doing with canceled? What are we doing with for sale by owners? These are databases. We already operate this way, as this is what we run with as being running a massive listing organization. This is a database of people that we know want to sell their home, right? Are looking to sell their home that are not on the market. These are databases that we can literally pull up and articulate and demonstrate to our buyers, let alone go and do the work, because that's what sets us apart, right? It's actually doing the work to go find our clients properties that maybe aren't out there, that match exactly what they're looking for, especially in a low inventory market. So that's one. I want to keep this short and sweet, right? But that's one. That's really simple to conceptualize for everybody. Number 2, I call it neighborhood marketing, call it circle prospecting, call it whatever you want. But again, it's just how you're able to package and demonstrate it, right? And what I mean by this is when they're targeting a specific, you know, we can target a specific area of the market. We can target very specific property types, because the world we're in today lets us do that with the technology, right? We can access cell phone numbers and email addresses of any specific demographic, geographic that we want. Those are off-market sellers of people that we can target to show our value add to our buyers, that we're going to go out there and find them exactly what they want. And Cooley, in a second, I'm going to let you touch on what the benefit is for them, right? A third one, you guys, is your team, your company. When I say your team, it's whatever company you work for, right? Whatever umbrella that you're under, those are agents actively out there in the business. Now, I articulate this maybe a little differently because we run an organization that's very listing centric and controlled under the umbrella ran the brokerage around for 14 years. So what do you think that means? We have a massive, a pool of real estate agents in our team that are actually prospecting and generating sellers every single day. Meaning we have a massive pool and database, whatever size this means to you, of sellers that are looking to come on the market, that we have access to that pool to communicate. So people that are off market and coming soon, that's a value add. Guys, whoever you are, whoever you're with, whatever individually teams, brokerages you work for, this exists. You're in a community of agents that's working with buyers and sellers. You have access to people that want to sell homes, right? Fourth one that you guys can write down is having access to investor pools. We all do. We all do. We are in real estate. Again, going back to whatever it's your connections or within your companies, within your teams, your masterminds groups you work in, we have access to people that have investors that are always buying properties, offloading properties. There's the big hedge funds and things out there like that are offloading properties. These are all things that we have access to, that if you just got a little creative and you knew how to package it and you knew how to articulate it, we all have access to this, guys. And then the sixth one that I would write down is, of course, your database and sphere, right? As an experienced active agent in the industry working with buyers and sellers, you have this internal pool of people that you also can target and market to. So when I share all of that, right, those are 6 items I gave you guys. None of this honestly costs money, is magical, is any secret sauce. These are resources that everybody has available to them. It's how am I articulating to this buyer? Because what's valuable to the buyer is they want access to homes. Okay, here's what sets you apart. They want access to homes, let alone someone that actually can go out and do the work for them. And then Cooley, as we transition here in a moment to scripting and how we handle those objections, how do we articulate when we go back to like, what does that mean to us because we're on the real estate side or the mortgage side? What does that mean for the buyer, right? What does that mean for the buyer? We can get them access to properties that aren't on the market, or at least put the
1,000%. Like none of this stuff is special to all of you guys, especially if you're real estate agents. You're like, yeah, all of that. That's fine. Yep, we got all that. And you've never ever used that as value to your buyers before because number one, you probably haven't been in a position where you've ever had to like work with your actual buyers or work for your buyers. So you've done what every other agent has done, which is, oh, I got a buyer. Let's set them up on an MLS search and call me when you find something. Well, agents like my agents are the ones that are going out there and taking your buyers from you, right? So if you've ever been frustrated about like working with a buyer, you got a great buyer lead, you started sending them listings and then, oh, you found out they were under contract with somebody else. Those are probably my agents that were taking them from you if you're in Washington or Texas or anywhere else, right? Because we go out on the offensive and we actually display that we're actually doing work with people, right? And it starts with selling your resources and setting the right expectation with your buyers, okay? And the most important thing that you can do up front is just figure out what their goal is. Yep, well, what do I mean by that? It's like, it's up to you to set the expectation for your clients, meaning like when you're talking about finding a house, obviously we know that these people want to find a house. They know that they want to find a house that they're in love with. But when you set the expectation up front that there's a difference between just finding the house that you want and an actual goal, you got to make the differentiation so that your buyers know that things are different. They're 2 different things, which is, Mitchell, is it your goal to just find a home that you fall in love with? Or do you want to make sure that you find a home that you fall in love with at the best price with the best terms possible? It's such a small statement, guys, but I promise you it separates the just finding the house from what their actual goal is, right? And so I want to say that one more time because it's an important thing that all of you guys should say to your buyers up front, right? Is it just your goal to find a home that you're in love with? Or Mitchell, do you want to find a home that you're in love with and make sure that you get the best price and the best terms possible? And this also sets you up for what your value proposition is to fulfill that goal, right? So when we talk about off-market properties and things like that, how do we present that as something that's a lot sexier than just expired listings that gets them a result that they just agreed that they wanted, right? So their goal now, and you know, most people aren't going to say, yeah, I just want to find a home that I love. Most people are going to say, yes, of course I want to find a home that I love. Of course I want the best price possible. And of course I want the best terms possible, right? Hey, one of the benefits in working with me, Mitchell, is I have an entire database of off-market properties. Now, these are people who do want to sell their property, but the great news is they're off market, so there's nobody competing to buy their properties. Now, Mitchell, just because you find a home in this market doesn't mean that you'll actually be able to purchase it, because a lot of people will be competing to buy it, and chances are you could end up paying a lot more than it's worth. With these off-market properties, Mitchell, we can actually go through that database, find you exactly what you love, have all of the negotiating power, because we're not competing to buy it. Now, this means that you not only find that home that you love, but you get a really good price, and we can command the terms that we want. And Mitchell, at the end of the day, that's really what you want, right? Of course it is. You know what I mean? Because of course, right? And that's leveraging expired listings, but you got to paint the picture on what it means for them, right? And what does an off-market property mean for them? It means no competition, right? You're not competing with 8 other buyers, Mitchell, to buy the property where they're driving the price up $100,000. This could be the difference, Mitchell, between you walking into a positive equity position or a negative equity position right out of the gate. And Mitchell, would you rather start your new home journey with $100,000 in equity or $50,000 in equity, or paying more than the property's actually worth?
I'd rather have that
Right?
equity.
100%. And so it's perspective with your buyers and painting the pictures, right? When Michelle was talking about circle prospecting, right? We all have access to circle prospecting data, at least most of us should, right? But what are you going to do? Are you going to say, hey, I'm going to send some flyers through neighborhoods, right? Or what are you going to do with that exactly? And so you've got to paint the picture as if you're out there actually working on their behalf, okay? And so how we set it up with our people, and I just want to be clear, from an ethical standpoint, my agents are taught to do this, right? So this isn't something that we promise to do and we just don't do, haha, right? It's something that we actually do, and something that's a part of our buyer process, right? Which is, hey, Mitchell, are you looking for anything specific or in a specific neighborhood? Role play with me, Mitch.
Yes.
Yes, I am.
Awesome. And so what are you looking for specifically? What is there a specific neighborhood that you want to live in?
Yes, I want to live in the Buckeye Lake area.
Awesome. And that a lot of people want to live in that area. Mitchell, it's a really in-demand area, and that's why you don't see a lot of houses that are on the market right now. And when you do, there are a lot of people competing to buy them. Now, you told me up front that your whole goal here is to make sure that not only do you find a home in that community that you love, Mitchell, but you want to make sure that you get the best price and the best terms possible, right?
Yes, that's correct.
1,000%. One of the benefits, Mitchell, of working with me is I'm also a real estate technology company, and I have access to the email addresses, cell phone numbers, names and addresses of everybody living in that community. So not only do we have to look at the properties that are on market, Mitchell, but I can specifically target who's looking to sell in that neighborhood, find you an off-market deal so that you don't have to compete with these 8 other people to buy it. And Mitch, that could be the difference between you walking into a positive equity position or getting better terms than you could if you were competing with 8 other people. Okay. And Mitch, that's really what you're looking for, is not just an agent to send you listings, because I can have somebody do that for you, Mitchell. It sounds to me like you want somebody who's going to go out there and find you exactly what you want, right?
Yeah, man. If I don't have to compete with other people, that would be great.
1,000%. So, and so this is us presenting circle prospecting data in a different way. Now, you can make the words however you want. You can communicate it however you want, but the importance of being able to sell it is still very important, right? Like, what is it exactly? Is it just, hey, I have data, right? Or is it, I have a technology, I work for a technology company, and we have the resources to go out there and get the names, email addresses, cell phone numbers of everybody in a specific neighborhood. Mitch, we know there's a lot of people in there who want to sell. It's just a matter of going out there and find them. Now, I'm a more aggressive agent, so it's my job to not only just send you what's available on the market, Mitchell, but make sure that I go out there and find you a home that you're in love with, and make sure that you're in a position where you don't have to compete to buy it. And if we do that, then you're in a position where you're not only saving a lot of money, but you're also getting good terms. And I know that that's exactly what you're looking for, right?
Yes.
Okay, isn't that a lot better than just briefly going over the fact that you've got some circle prospecting data, or that you can send flyers through a neighborhood? It's how you present it matters. And in your client's perspective, you're battling a stigma already, and that stigma is I watched this Instagram video that you guys have probably all seen, of this lady crying about how she's going to be a real estate agent because something else failed in her life. And she's like, I'm going to stand in a living room and say, hey, do you like this bathroom? Do you want to buy it? Right? She was crying about it because she didn't want to be a real estate agent. But that's the perception of that's what realtors do, right? They just open doors and ask you if you like the countertops. You know what I mean? And so for you to come out here with a solid presentation, have this documented in writing, and be able to speak the language of value is going to completely obliterate that stereotype that's going to follow you around, and ultimately the entire reason why this NAR lawsuit probably exists in the first place. You know what I mean? I've got value, my team has value, and they go out there and they display it every day, leveraging the tools and resources they have access to already. But now they know how to go out there and sell it, and they know how to go out there and use it. And now at the end of the conversation, the clients are, oh, yeah, I have to pay you for this. That makes sense.
So I want to interject really quick here is everyone. So if you guys haven't now connected the dots and noticed, the whole purpose of what we're doing here with you is to take, I gave you a list, agent to agent, right? This is our knowledge of here's where it is. Here's how to go do it. The actual skill set to actually go out there and sell it and compete. That's the void in the industry. Is everyone connecting the dots with me? Give me some like hands raised, unmute your mics and say yes. This is the whole conversation that we're talking about. And I want to transition this here in a second. Is everyone with me though? Is everyone like connecting the dots on the two different things? I'm not going, hey, let me talk to you about expireds and canceleds and FSBOs and neighbor. That doesn't mean anything to them. Do you guys see
I
the
don't
difference?
care.
That's not valuable to them. I'm telling you, agent to agent, or people in the industry, agent to lender, how we can go do that. We have to, it's all on how we articulate it. And this takes sales skills. This takes practice. So I hope everybody is taking this, pausing it, rewinding it, and actually taking out those scripts that Cooley is presenting you guys with, because this is how you actually sell and compete and win every time. So keeping us on track here for time, Cooley, I want to just a little bit so they can kind of take a, like that was all genius scripting right there already, super valuable, but I want to kind of do it in the way of, we're doing our presentation, right? Just like a listing, we're having the end of a powerful presentation leads to in a signed contract and a signature. Okay. And so when you do your job and you have a great presentation, your value is baked into that presentation. Okay. And now it comes time to sign for the signature. And just like on the listing side, and we established that there is a cost for that service. And now we're getting the signature signed. Okay. This is why great agents out there, guys, there's a difference between those that have always charged a full service commission and charge more than what's been normal in our industry without ever an objection, because they have that strong of a presentation. So what we're coaching and training our agents on now is even the ones that are at that level, that are selling 100 homes a year, that are selling 100 buyer contracts a year and never even get this objection, we have to prepare everybody to expect they're going to get it. Right? So now we've got this super strong presentation. You've established and are able to articulate your value. Now we come down to the objections. And Khalil, I want to spend a few minutes on this because I want to make sure we have enough time for the last part. So I've just done a great presentation. I've established their motivation, their urgency. I've established what they want. I've established my unique value proposition. I'm now coming to the close. And Cooley, you're asking me to sign the contract, right? And I'm going to say, oh, so now we're, we got to sign the contract. We're going to be required to sign the buyer's agency agreement. So, but Cooley, I was told that like we didn't have to pay buyer's agents commissions anymore. Like that was going away.
Yeah, Michelle, that's a great question. And all the everything that you heard, all that really changed is just the way that we disclosed what's been true all along, which is in 99% of the cases, Michelle, the seller is actually going to take care of me being compensated. So that will never be an issue for you, Michelle. I think we can both agree that at the end of the day, you want representation to make sure that you get a great price on a home that you love with the best terms possible, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
100%, Michelle. My commission would never get in the way of you finding that home that you're looking for. Okay.
Okay. And I think
perfect. Sign here. So my job is to make it a non-issue. You know what I mean? For me, it's a non-issue. Okay. Now, what is true, guys, is that in the majority of cases, this will never be an issue. right? Now, could it become an issue moving forward? Yes, it absolutely could, right? If sellers agents start getting a little weird, like they might do, which is, you know, I mean, there's always that in the marketplace, period. And so that might become an issue, but chances are it's not even going to become an issue.
And I think the two biggest things, because it's the only objection that we're going to get, guys, is when you establish the value like that, right? When you actually get someone to commit to say, okay, like I'm working with you, I'm exclusively going to work with you. There's going to be a lot of wary of like, do I want to commit to that? If you can't establish that value and what's unique to you and what you're going to do above and beyond what everyone else in the industry is doing. So you have to adopt that value proposition and figure it out real quick, get really good at it, start practicing it to get really strong at articulating that, because you are going to be competing for that signature on the buyer's agency agreement, right? And I think that, I mean, that
we also have to call it, we also have to call it for what it is. Like in a lot of cases, sellers might start not offering a commission to a buyer's agent just to discourage people from having representation, right? And so, you know, a powerful thing to say to your buyers is, listen, Mitchell, my commission will never get in the way of you finding the home of your dreams. Now, in the event that a seller tries to discourage you from having representation, we can always get really creative on how we structure my commission to make sure that you don't go unrepresented and you get the terms and the price that you're looking for. Okay, awesome. Sign here, right? And this allows us the room to kind of like, okay, like I know, and as a buyer's agent, guys, you have to know that you have a lot more power than you think you do, right? It's not just about looking on the MLS. It's also about setting up the expectation and working with your buyers to make sure that they don't go unrepresented unless you don't see value in your representation, right? So one of the things that you're going to have to learn how to do, depending on what happens here, is telling your sellers the importance of being represented versus unrepresented, right? To make sure that, you know, because they'll come back to you and they'll say things like, well, tell me, Chad, like if they're not offering a commission, am I going to have to like come to the table with this cash up front, right? And I could say, listen, Mitchell, I know that you don't want to go unrepresented and you know the importance of that. And one of the ways that I can make this a non-issue for you is I can go ahead and make sure that I'm calling every property before I send it to you, make sure that the sellers are willing to negotiate. So that way we're not talking to people who, number one, are not willing to negotiate, and number two, are trying to discourage you from having the representation that's going to protect you, okay?
Okay.
Do you guys feel me on that? Are you guys understanding how powerful that is?
Yes.
I hope you do, because some of you guys might not. And if I'm a buyer's agent, what I'm going to do is my job is to protect my buyers. Okay. So in the event that they want, I'm gonna do their home search. I'm gonna go out and find them properties that they're looking for. I'm gonna find them in off-market properties, maybe, so that this is not even an issue. If I run into somebody who's not, if I see a property that I think my clients will like, right, I'll call them. I'll ask them what they're offering as far as incentives go, right? What they're offering as far as a buyer's commission. And if they say nope, nada, that also tells me a lot about the seller, right? It also tells me that the seller is not really willing to negotiate. They're basically, what they want to do is play hardball and not come to terms with our buyer as well, right? And so to keep it ethical, you want to make sure that you let your buyers know about that property, right? Which is, hey, I found a great property. I contacted the seller. It sounds to me like these people aren't really willing to negotiate either on terms, commission, or anything else. So we have a decision to make. We can always go out there and find you a home in the same neighborhood that is just like it, right? And this will give us the opportunity to come to the table, negotiate a better price and better terms, okay? And so I'm going to be transparent because I don't want to hide anything from my buyers, but I also don't want to run away from it that I charge a commission. You know what I mean? I also want to make sure that they know that there's major value in being represented. Okay. So I'm going to set the expectation up front. And how many agents do we have on this call real quick? Can you guys raise your voices, unmute your microphone? If you're an agent, a real estate agent on this call, don't worry. I'm not going to call you out or say anything weird.
I'm an agent.
Awesome. Awesome. And are you used to getting buyer's agreements signed typically?
I'm mostly a buyer's agent. So yes, I've been using those.
Awesome. And so during this whole NAR thing and what we've talked about today, Are you taking any value from this? As far as conversations that you can have with your clients, value that you can create to incentivize them to actually want your representation?
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
I love it. I love it. I'm glad to hear it. And so like for most buyer's agents, guys, it's a relationship business for some of them, right? And so for a lot of these guys, it won't be an issue. It will be more of like, oh, by the way, I heard this. And you need to make sure that you're able to articulate it clearly so you don't create more confusion or create more questions or create objections that you didn't know that you had. But when we're talking about how it's going to get more competitive, because agents are going to have to get their shit together. You know what I mean? On the buyer side, they're going to be forced to, because it's going to become a lot more like listings if they're not clients that are being referred to you that you already know, right? You will have to go out there and compete, and you will have to differentiate yourself from everybody else. And so this is what we're talking about when we're talking about making sure that you have a professional buyer's presentation, making sure that there's actual value in that buyer's presentation. That's just not about how great your service is, right? But actually what you go out there and do that's above and beyond everybody else, and how you can actually sell that service and utilize it as a net benefit for your clients. Separation.
Yes. And so the last thing, guys, just to, because I want to make sure I can wrap us here in a few minutes, that's super, super critical. So when, and I said this when I was just on stage with Dan and Deborah, you know, last week, there's the number one most important thing we can have, you guys, is control. It's security, right? What I mean by that is it's having security in our business and in our lives. And this is something that's a huge struggle for our industry, always have been, right? It's having, how do I control my business? I'll tell you right now, these are the conversations, because we're all running. We work with a lot of high level agents. I'll tell you right now, there's a lot of changes that are still going to happen that are unknown, that we are all pivoting together, right? Working with that huge agent with our group just earlier this week. They're learning it too, right? And we don't even know exactly how it's going to roll out. We're just all training, adjusting. Okay. But here's what's important to control your business. I can tell you this, there's two things that can give you certainty and can give you control no matter what in your business. And number one is getting really dialed in how you work and service and build your database. Okay. Number one, Dan Keller does a freaking amazing job at that. What he teaches with agents as well. It's what we teach to our agents. And number two, listings will give you the control. Okay. And there is no doubt about it. This is also one of the bigger voids of the industry, because most don't know how to go out there and actually get listings. That's why 10% of the agents will list 90% of the properties, because it controls the market. Now, here's what I want to emphasize on that. Okay. Running a massive listing organization and teaching agents how to become massive listing agents so that they have control in their business, so that they can also control buyers and create the business, create the opportunities. I just want to highlight a few things here. When you think about, for the agents that are listening to this, whether you're a loan officer on here, this is a pivotal part of your agent's business that they need to be able to control in their business. And here's why, for outside of obvious reasons. First of all, 50% of those sellers are also going to buy, right, locally. Then there's referrals that you get because they're going to go buy somewhere else, okay, outside of the market. Listings is how we control the market. It is all of our marketing, our lead generation. Here's where we get all of our signed calls for buyers. Here's where we get all of the internet marketing calls for buyers and inquiries. We run an entire circle prospecting system on top of every deal and every listing we do, because we're teaching the agents how to create another 1 to 2 transactions off of every single listing that they are doing, and how to get referrals off of those clients. And so it is an absolute must that we are helping all agents get control over their business, right? And have that certainty again by driving their database and being able to actually go out there and build a listing-based business, which is the majority. This is the skill set that lacks, because it takes a skill set. Okay. And so anything else, I wanted to leave it at that. I hope that's helpful to people. This is a niche of ours. It's something we offer a ton of training out to the industry that's open forum, also internally. While Cooley, I want you to add what you want to add, because I know we're at time here.
Sure.
If you guys want to button us up,
which is
hold on real quick. I'll drop a link just so anyone that's on here as guests, that you can actually just copy and paste that, so agents can see what we're doing every single day to train agents and equip them to go out there, get listings, control the market, okay, and control what they're doing and be able to create more buyers off of it.
For you loan officers out there, man, agents are really looking for leadership right now, and there's not a lot of it available at their brokerages, period. It just doesn't exist for most people. They're independent contractors who hang their license somewhere, and they're just out there trying to figure this stuff out. You know what I mean? Most people don't have access, so most agents are going to step back and do nothing. For you loan officers, you have a huge opportunity to go out there and be leaders and put these guys to work with the right tools and resources to go out there and keep generating business, right? And so I know that Mitchell and Terrace on this call, Harris, God darn it, I can't get that name right for the life of me. A lot of you guys were there for our 90-day burn, where we gave you a lot of tools and resources to not only go out there and make those agent phone calls, but to actually give them value enough to where you can walk into any team leader, broker owner, and just say, here's what I'm going to do for your brokerage. Okay. We're running round 2 of it, which is going to be next level, right? And I like to call it project integration, which is how do we, number one, do all the things that we just talked about, which is provide value, recruit our agents to our brokerage, right? To our loan officer team, right? But how do we actually go out there and integrate ourselves into their business so that we are an undeniable part of their engine, right? You can't start a car without a battery, right? And your goal as loan officers should not just be to like have great relationships and cups of coffee with your realtors. It should be an essential part of their business, and they can't run without it, right? A cell phone is great, but like you don't really care if it makes phone calls or not, right? What you care about, why you care about it so much, is because this technology has integrated itself so far into your life that if you left your phone at home on the way to work, you'd be like, oh my God, I have to turn back and drive 45 minutes to go get my phone because I can't function without it. The question for you loan officers has to become, okay, well, how do I do this with my real estate agents? Okay, how do I get so deep into their business, into their databases, right? Into their lead generation, into their sales processes, to where it's no question if they're doing business with me or not. And how can I make sure that without the hours that it takes, how do I manage these guys to make sure that they're out there being productive and generating business for me every day? Your agents should be your deal-making machines. They really should. They're your salespeople, right? You're the branch manager. They're your salespeople. And so you should be doing everything that you can to integrate yourself into their business engine and putting them to work every day. And so Mitchell and Terrace, if you guys are excited about round 2, and I know that you guys found tremendous value, I can't wait to see you there. And for all of you guys who weren't a part of the first one, it's a great opportunity for you to learn how to make the phone call, learn how to go out there and present to your agents. And then step 3, learn how to be an essential part of their business, keep them functioning, and keep them generating business for you. Dan, when are we starting that?
Yeah, we're starting next Friday. So Friday the 12th, you can learn more if you go to the Rise MLO private Facebook group that we run. Again, same thing. We do a breakfast club for loan officers every Friday morning, just like you guys do a breakfast club for real estate agents every single day of the week. We just do one day a week. So we're going to start that. And, I want to wrap with this, you guys. Every time I listen to Chad and Michelle talk, I've been in, including your organization, 5 different either sales meetings or office meetings or even regional real estate office meetings around the NAR settlement commissions and what to do and what to say. Not one other real estate brokerage that I've been a part of, and these are big names that every single one of you guys nationwide would recognize the names of these firms, have come close to explaining value and teaching you to articulate your value and how to deal with objections that Chad and Michelle have. And so that's why I, as a mortgage professional, wanted to have you guys on and get this so I can get this out in front of every single real estate agent that I know. But I know every loan officer on this call, it's about 50-50. Every loan officer on this call, get this out to every real estate agent you know. I promise you, well, I don't promise you, I know that hundreds of thousands of dollars in commissions was saved today on this call. And if real estate agents learn this dialogue and they learn how to articulate their value, you're gonna have no problem with these changes. So I can't thank you guys enough. Chad and Michelle, killer phone call. This is recorded. So if you're on this, we're gonna send this link out to you later today. You can follow. I would encourage you to, if you need a daily dose of kind of some inspiration on this stuff, follow Chad Cooley. It's Mr. Chad Cooley on Instagram, Michelle Wilson EXP on Instagram. Both of them, man, they lead by example and are just incredible inspirations in our industry. So great call, you guys. I think that's a wrap.
Thank you, Dan.
Yes, real quick, one more quick thing, guys. Yeah. Make sure that you reach out to your agents with these scripts, and I'm sure that we'll have them available for you. Make sure that you ask them about their buyer's presentation. Do you have a professional buyer's presentation? And is this an actual articulated page that you're going through in your buyer's presentation, because it will be the difference between you beating out other people, as simple as it sounds, versus the person who's just going to send them listings over the phone, never meet them, right? And so that's what we've got to do, guys. And I hope you guys take that away and go implement that today. And thank you so much for joining. Dan, thanks for having me. Michelle, always wonderful. Let's go.
Let's go. Good job.
Thanks,
Guys.
guys.